Ladies and gentlemen, the show is about to start in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, how are you feeling? Welcome to another episode of the Christian Buddy Show. Glad you are here. In today's episode, I'm with Karim and we are going to be discussing the Bhagavad Gita. That is right. Now, a bit of a disclaimer, I am not an expert. I have actually watched the YouTube video, a summarization on this, and if you would like in-depth learning, you can follow that YouTube link I've put in my description. And also, if you would like to leave a voicemail on the show, you can follow this link, anchor.fm Christian Lofts message. So you can leave a voicemail on the show and I'll get back to you in the next episode. Also, I'm going to promote my show a little bit more. So, Christian Buddy Show, you can find me on YouTube and Spotify. And also, last bit of promotion, my guest here has a website called www.historyencoded.com, and you can go there if you would like to learn a little bit more about history of religion and other things like that. So, guys, please do not forget to leave a comment or a question. I'm always happy to answer your questions live stream. Sending peace and love, strength, and I'm going to introduce my next guest, Karim. How you feeling?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Not too bad. So the topic that we're going to discuss is pretty full on, pretty heavy. Oh well, I think it's heavy. The
It
Bhagavad
is indeed.
Gita. Maybe you can run the audience through your background and what you're doing at the moment and your knowledge of the scripture.
Yep. So, first of all, I am no expert in this, neither any things related to religion. I'm just learning whatever that's out there. So, firstly, I'm IT student myself and studying as of now. But on a side note, I just like to do podcasts and then look into history. So for my this new season, I'm doing history of religion, and I've got a bit of a study about Bhagavad Gita. I'm doing a bit of study about Bible itself, and then of course I know Quran and different religions. So it's very intriguing when I just started looking out there that so many of the things that we divide is actually the same. If we just look into the past, if we look in history, most of these religions have driven from the culture that was already existing there. That culture came through a different religion. So originally, every religion has to take over some other religion and just polish itself on top of it. It's quite interesting to know that what I believe in, the practices that I do, is nothing more than just the practices, just little bit changed from what different religion has left on me. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting conversation here as we go into it, because the Bhagavad Gita is one of the oldest scriptures we have, and then every religion has to place itself on top of it, and yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
Yes, it is an amazing book. And there's a lot to there's a lot of layers. It's very it's pretty for me. It's pretty complicated. So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's kind of like a journey between two characters, Krishna and
Arjuna,
um,
yes.
Arjuna, and there's a lot of lessons learned. And I'm just gonna take one lesson from the book, talking about karma yoga is the spiritual practice of selfless action performed for the benefit of others. Does this mean anything for you, or can you speak into that into this area?
Um, yeah, what I believe in is mostly that our actions have direct, or maybe let's just not go into that much detail. Let's start with the fact that first of all, this whole Bhagavad Gita is not a holy book, as in not the complete basis of book that every religion has. It's just more of a moral code for Hindus, and this is set at a time where um, the iconic event of Mahabharata was going on. So yeah, I have to familiarize myself with that too. But as of the Gita, he's talking about causes of what the action Arjuna is gonna take, and he's about to go into a fight, which is pretty, and he is too content with it himself. So his actions have to be justified, and this is the main conversation these two people are having, in which he realizes that every action that he does indeed is actually already done, because he is facing Krishna right now, and he is the god, destroyer, creator, and everything. So it's more of a conversation which became a moral code of ethics for Hindus, more or less. And yeah, so the karma yoga is more, for me, it's more of like a way of practice. The more you believe in yourself to be harmless to others is the way that you actually, because even if you talk about charity and giving out for the people, it depends on how you do it. So more or less, yeah, I believe in that karma yoga is a practice of how you conduct yourself in a harmless way that may or may not affect others.
Yeah, well said. And it's interesting because there's a quote by this by an American physicist. He invented the atomic bomb, and it's kind of like the opposite of this whole idea of peace and love. But this guy Robert Oppenheimer, he's the father of the atomic bomb, and he quoted the Bhagavad Gita. I might be getting this wrong, but he says, "I am." What do you say? I am becoming death, the destroyer of worlds. I just think this was like really powerful moment in history. Obviously, if you have an atomic bomb, you have the capability of wiping out many people. And why do you think he quoted? Why do you think he quoted the Bhagavad Gita in that moment? This dude with an atomic bomb. It's crazy when you look back at it.
Might just be a fan. I mean, he could have quoted Thanos, if the Marvel universe would have been so famous back then. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
literally snapping twice. But yeah, at that time, it is a moral code for a lot of people. And honestly, this whole regeneration of Hinduism was very good and very much ignited because of Western interest. So a lot of people have found interest in Bhagavad Gita, and then I don't know why he quoted it, but maybe because he might have found some similarity, some sort of character that he could affiliate with.
And are you what's your background? Are you a religious person, or what's your background?
So yeah, first of all, I'm a Muslim, and I wouldn't call myself anywhere close to a religious person, but I like to know more about religion and its history. I'm not more into practices or rituals, but yes, I do believe in. I'm not atheist in complete, but I do believe in a God who is out there, a supreme energy. I do like to know more about him or her, but as far as things goes, I do not practice religion. I do not see myself as a religious person.
So, talking about God, what beliefs do you hold regarding God, and do you believe there is a God, or what are your beliefs surrounding this idea?
Yep. So the first thing when you go out there and you start studying all these things is the fact that you have to unlearn things that you've already known. For example, all these stories that we have from religion, if you literally look into them, you'll start just completely erasing them. Stories that have been out there do not really fit in the historical facts that we have. For example, if you, and that's what I've been talking about on my podcast, if you think about the, as a Christian point of view, sorry, so the Christian, the Jews, and the Muslim believe in Abraham to be the first messenger, the first person, sorry, to be on this earth. And if you literally look into that history, that is some 150,000 years old. But of course, through scientific facts, we know that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old, and we know there have been spirits around. People already have been here. So yeah, so the main thing that we get into when we start looking into facts and history, and then all these literal meanings of things, is what a normal person would normally do is that we'll start throwing out religion, the complete possibility of a messenger, a complete possibility of God, possibility of someone doing miracles, because we've never seen that. And then the facts that we have do not prove it. So most people just call themselves atheists because they do not have proof. But I, on the other hand, believe in someone being supreme, someone who is out there. Of course, I am just learning and I really don't know. I will get to know about it more or less later on. But then, of course, there is some sort of energy out there. There's got to be some energy.
Yeah.
This is a road that you're following. And if you do bad to someone, you get bad back to you. That's the law of karma. And then this spiritual journey and then meditation, there's something attached to it. This must be linked to a higher personality. We don't know, nobody knows, but looking out for it is much more fun than just dismissing it.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you. I'm of a similar mindset. I definitely believe there is something out there. There's some sort of cosmic energy or some consciousness, if you will, something inexplainable by human rationality. And yeah, I prefer to believe than disbelieve, and I don't require, you know, some hard coded piece of evidence like a formula or something. I would prefer to believe, and I think life is just for me. Life is just more pleasant that way. If you're trying to help your fellow man, and if you're just trying to meditation and just trying to be a better person in general. And
Yep,
one
yeah,
thing,
exactly.
yeah. Sorry, I was going to say one thing I learnt just from the small time I was looking at the Gita was the desire. I want to share this little part of the video. Give me one moment, and I think this is a really powerful message. That's why I want to share it with everybody. Where is it? Okay. So hopefully this doesn't get taken down for copyright, but this is from Dharma Speaks, Bhagavad Gita made easy. So just let me know if is there sound
Desire is
coming
the
through?
Yep.
So this is a video on desire, and I just thought it was very powerful for me learning at the moment, and I'm just gonna play this.
obstacle to seeing this, touched by any of it. Desire is the obstacle to seeing this. It blinds our vision like smoke from a fire. Desire invades our senses, mind, and the intellect. The goal is to master ourselves through yoga. But this knowledge is nothing new. Krishna states that this ancient science is being resurrected by him, but was originally taught to the sun deity Vivaswan and was passed down by different persons through the ages. At this point, Krishna famously declares why he is incarnated on earth. Whenever there is a decline in dharma, O Bharata, and whenever there is an increase in adharma, it is then that I manifest myself.
All right, that was a bit unrelated, the last bit, but I just thought, yeah, they speak about desire, and I have a quote here from the book. You, what is it? Do not make the rewards of action your motive, and do not develop any attachment for avoiding action. Uh, yeah, desire invades our senses, mind, and intellect. The goal is to master ourselves through yoga. I just think that's really cool. I just think that I want to share that, and it's just such a powerful statement. If I know that we know we live in a world that has a lot of desire and materialistic wants, and it's very difficult to separate ourselves from that. But yeah, can you? I don't know if you have any ideas or any insight.
No, I definitely agree with you. The fact that we only get to know ourselves when we realize who we actually are, and when that starts when we separate us from the things that literally hinders in between our personalities. I mean, like greed, ego, and stuff like that. But in a bigger picture, yeah, we've got luxuries that we want to live with, and of course, giving that up is the path. But yeah, honestly, meditating is more or less it's always been portrayed in a way that you have to give up everything, so that you can start going down the path. I mean, like, you can literally see thousands of places just trying to portray that, where you have to give up yourself, give up your money, give up your greed and stuff like that, and just start living a life where you literally have nothing but just meditation. And if you read about Buddhism, when Siddhartha, the Buddhist, when he starts his journey, he gives up everything initially, but he realizes that to reach nirvana, that wasn't the point, where he just literally eats one time a day, never sleeps, and this practice where you have to literally breathe in and breathe out knowingly did not even help him reach nirvana. And that's when he realizes that just giving up everything on this world wouldn't have been exactly what the gods would have asked of him. That's the only point. If I don't know, but this is my belief. If the gods, or if a supreme deity wanted me to come down to this earth and then look for him again, then there must be some point behind it. Why would he just give everything and just call it distraction? Maybe I have to live through it and then understand the supreme meaning. So I definitely agree to it, but to certain extent, you have to live with these things, giving up everything and just following a path where you just survive on the basic necessities would not seem right to me, honestly.
Yeah, it's pretty intense to live a lifestyle of these things. And there's a message in the book that says to be of this world, in the world but not of it, internal renunciation of desire. Like, I think it's so crazy. I love it. Like, to be in the world, like, you don't have to be attached to any one thing, but you're still kind of operating in the world. You're still obviously using money. You're still working, being a good employee or wherever you work. But you're not attached to anything. It's like it's such a cool concept. I love it.
That's
Um,
true. You live a supreme life when you balance out everything you have rather than just picking up one side that doesn't seem fair to anyone. Balancing yourself is, I think, the most important thing that we all have to learn. Going into everything, but to a certain extent, is the law, I think.
mm. And the mind is it speaks about the book speaks about the mind is difficult to control, and this kind of leads me on to my next point: meditation. So you touched on meditation before, and what does meditation mean for you?
Um, Awareness. I would call it awareness. But definitely, we need some time in our life where we just sit with ourselves mostly. I mean, if you look into meditation and just, it could go intense, of course. And yeah, people take it too strongly. Honestly, for me, it's just awareness. I just need every day, every moment, I need time with myself where I actually know what I'm doing, who am I, and know what I'm going to do when I go back into this life. Being aware of myself, that comes through meditation. Having myself being surrounded by all these things where I just lose control, and I really don't act on my own will. Meditation gives me that awareness that I really know who I am. And that would be all from me, because if you look into religion, meditation is the path to nirvana, where you find the supreme being. And if you look into like Siddhartha or Buddhism, or if you speak about nirvana, it basically means that the you have to be everywhere. When you start meditating, you reach to a supreme power, and then you see yourself everywhere. I don't know if this is a real experience, but for me, meditation is as simple as being aware of yourself. I know who I am, I act on my own will. Meditation gives me that power to know that I'm not surrounded by things, or I am not acting based on one of the attributes that I have. I'm not giving answers just because I'm angry right now. Meditation gives me that control over myself and being aware. That's all. Yeah.
You spoke about nirvana. Is that can you elaborate on that idea?
Yep. I haven't really looked into nirvana much, but this is a state where you meet with the gods, I believe, when you spiritualize yourself enough so that you reach to a point where you have met the light. this is basically the point. Where you meet the light is where you become one with God. That's the state of nirvana. So when you become one with God, you see yourself everywhere. And you go through nirvana through these steps, where you first start giving up greed, and then you start giving up all the pleasures of the world, the luxuries, and then you start meditating. At one point you see the supreme light, and that's when you become one. So even before you die, when you see the light, is your nirvana.
Yeah, that's powerful, powerful stuff. And because you know, like pop culture, we hear about all these things, like people taking drugs, people taking psychedelics, and they're entering into this new consciousness, sort of, if you will. And do you think that you can attain this state? It's First of all, do you think it's possible to attain this state? And second of all, do you think you can attain this state in a sober, non using any drugs?
All right, I'm in no position to answer this. Okay, but I'll still go with what I believe in.
Okay,
And I
that's
believe
cool.
that nirvana can be touched through anything, as long as you leave yourself to a point where you have to a journey which you've never seen, and the psychedelic journey is just way beyond our control. I believe that could be called nirvana, but of course it's been bounded by the society and the people. So if you go out and say that I've meditated and found nirvana, everyone would accept you. If you go out there looking like an alcoholic, a drugged out person, and then you would say I did weed and I found nirvana, nobody will agree to you. But nirvana is a state of ecstasy. It could be found through meditation or drugs, whatever makes you out there. But of course, when you find nirvana, you don't come back to life, act as a normal person. You have become one with the wisdom. You have found calmness in yourself. You found wisdom, everything there is to be in this world. You have literally achieved it. After drugs, you can't say that. But in one way, it's still a journey, still more beautiful. I have never reached nirvana in any circumstance, so I wouldn't conclude on which one's the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's it's interesting because, yeah, like it kind of goes very, very deep, very philosophical. Like, what is consciousness? Like, what are we experiencing right now? And are there layers to this thing? Is it is this like a game that we're in at the moment? And it's interesting because I looked at another video. I went down a YouTube black hole, and I kept looking at all these videos, and there was one that came up, and it said how the Bhagavad Gita is similar to the Matrix, the movie The Matrix. And I thought that was really fascinating. That I didn't watch that whole video, but just the idea that maybe we're all Neo, like we're all kind of tapped into this false world, and through spiritual enlightenment, we transcend into this into maybe the real world. Yeah, I hope I'm not I hope I'm not wrecking anything there, but yeah, there's so many different ways to look at this. There's so many different angles that different pathways you can go down.
Yep, definitely. We don't think about it as much as we should. And I recently got to know about it because on my website I got a email from a person saying that I'm very much interested in what you're doing and I'd like to come on the show. But when I studied about him, he has written a book in which he explains how this whole history of the world, which has been hidden from us, is actually controlled by some aliens, and they are the ones who've come in here before us. And how do we get all these lands out there? How do we get all these architectures? Somebody must have put it in our minds that we reflected upon that, and then we started growing initially. So yeah, I could have dismissed it initially, but I really liked the idea that there might have been an alien invasion on this earth, and they would have built beautiful humongous things that got destroyed over time. But there might be bits and pieces out there, and then, for example, when the Greeks came in, they realized that they could rebuild upon this, and then we only got our scriptures from the Greeks. So then we started recognizing them as the revolutionists. I don't know. You should not dismiss it, because it's a fun thing to really look into every
Yeah,
possibility. But yeah, on a much lighter side, every movie could be linked to one of the religions in one way or the other.
that's true. Yeah, you
Honestly.
can. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Yeah, speaking of aliens, yeah, I was watching this show on Netflix. There's a new alien documentary series. I watched the first episode, and I won't spoil too much, but it's just the history of all um it includes the American government and how they came into contact with alien life. Like they start all the way back at I'm not sure if you know New Mexico, where they in 1940 I think they found a UFO, and then the government said it was a weather balloon.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's just interesting. Like it goes back all the way. Who knows if it's true or not? It's always up to interpretation. But I do. I definitely believe in. I definitely
Yeah.
believe in.
I mean, I mean, you cannot dismiss it, because I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day, and the fact that we've been out there for 4.5 billion years means that a civilization could have completely gone over its peak to its decline in this time. Because if we track back to what we know, it's just 400,000 or 500,000 years ago. So if you consider the fact 4.5 billion years, and then you give that possibility to other planets, or maybe other cosmics that have been out there, other galaxies, they could have been smart enough in this 4.5 billion years to completely industrialize themselves, go to Mars, because after 500,000 years, we've got Elon Musk who can go to Mars now, right? So maybe after 1.5 billion years, we might find someone who can travel to other galaxy. If we take this growth as a possibility, then there is a chance that someone from the other planets could have come to Earth, or maybe they're so smart that they are living the whole technological life, and we are artificial intelligence to them. So what we are calling gods could just be a good code of program that's given us the opportunity that we can act on our own will, but it's still being monitored through artificial intelligence. I mean, if since we're just talking about these
we're
things,
going
there is a
deep. We're
possibility.
going really deep now. Yeah, I do think Elon Musk is an alien.
Definitely.
He's
He is. I mean, you should not live a life that is so driven by the fact that he is thinking so much for us, and not just living a complete life of his own, where he thinks going to Mars is more important than just building his own new home. And there's got to be a reason behind all this. He's definitely an alien. I mean, like, I was listening to him the other day, and he preferred to die on Mars rather than on Earth, just because he thought it would be cool.
yeah,
Definitely not one of us.
definitely not one of us. I'm actually going to share another part of the video, which this is another part that I thought was really cool. Um, so sorry to kind of cut the alien topic
Oh
there.
yeah.
But kind of going back to the book. So this part's really cool, and I think it's really cool because it shows Krishna's real form. So let me just. Can you hear the audio? Is that coming through?
Nope.
No. All right, give me a second.
With your own eyes.
That came through. All right, cool.
Been described. Krishna replies, "But you cannot see me in this way with your own eyes, and so I give you my divine vision. Now behold my glorious yoga." Our eyes are bound by this physical world, so Krishna, as an act of grace, gives spiritual eyes which can pierce the veil of material existence. Suddenly Arjuna beholds the truly shocking cosmic form of the Lord. Blazing like 1,000 suns, he sees within it endless heads and arms, the entire universe, heavens and other abodes. He sees all the demigods and rishis of the yajna. There is no beginning, middle or end. It is infinite in nature. Arjuna sees whole worlds being destroyed by gnashing teeth. All creation and souls are present within this one form of Krishna. But instead of enjoying the sight, Arjuna is trembling with fear at this awesome scene. Within this form, Arjuna also sees his enemies who are ready for battle being swallowed up and destroyed by Krishna. Confused and overcome with emotion, Arjuna asks Krishna who he really is. Krishna replies, "I am all-powerful time that brings destruction to the world. I am here to put an end to these worlds. Even without you, none of these warriors assembled in battle will survive." Essentially, Krishna is saying, I am life itself. Existence and the very movement of existence is all Krishna. Arjuna has been worried about engaging in battle because of the consequences, but Krishna has shown that the battle is already over. His enemies have already been slain. Whether Arjuna fights or not is irrelevant. Krishna has already accomplished everything. In response, Arjuna praises him and further apologizes. Deluded by Krishna's human appearance, Arjuna failed to understand the precious nature of what was in front of him.
Yeah, I thought I'd share that because I just thought it was really cool. I just thought it was really awesome, man. It was like something from a movie. When Krishna reveals himself, and yeah, it's just it doesn't. I'm not really taking this point anywhere, but I just like it, so that's why I thought I would share that part. Um,
I'm pretty sure if you go high on a pot, you'll get similar visions. But
yeah,
yeah, it's a
yeah,
journey. You either do it this way or the other, I think.
yeah, for sure, and yeah, it kind of makes you question reality. It makes you question who you are, what you're doing at the moment, and I believe there's a thing called Dharma, 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 and it's almost like the duty. You're upholding the duty to do something, something good, and yeah. Hopefully, I'm upholding my Dharma to do something good in this world, and
That's true. Yeah. See, when I started initially learning about all these things in religion, this is the key factor, is that why do we really need religion? And if we go back in the past, religion has served a um very good purpose in keeping this everything aligned. And I think whether or not if it's all true, we do need it because of the fact that it gives us morality. It teaches of the things that there should be right out there. What really is reality is very much confined to yourself. What you perceive is your reality. But the fact that there's a greater good that you have to keep following throughout. And that's how the world is balanced. So whether or not there is religion out there, we need it because it aligns us. And throughout religion you'll find this concept, and it's same everywhere, where your dharma, your greater good, has to align with yourself. So no matter what there is out there, you have to find the good in the bad, things like that.
do you find there's a lot of similarities between most of the religions?
Everywhere, everywhere. I mean, if and that's what I'm going to do this whole season, is the fact that I'm so taken up by all this fact that if you start with there is this group Indo-Aryans that was initially from Iran. Some of them traveled to west, the others east. And then if you look at the very early religions, these Indo-Aryans have given the Greeks gods, and then they've given Hindus gods. And these gods have a very similar attribute, but a different name. So you've got God of Thunder, you've got the Destroyer, you've got the Creator, you've got the God of Wealth, you've got the God of Wind, Sea. And they both had gods initially. They had different names for them, but there was a similar concept out there.
Mm.
Over time, when you've got the Abrahamic faiths taking over, you'll find similarity throughout Christianity, Jews, and Muslims. And then we talk about different branches within this whole history of religion that we have. They have literally sprung out themselves from a religion. For example, Buddhism is exactly Hinduism, but the fact that you have to meditate to go through Krishna, or in Buddhism, it's just a light. So I think pretty much everywhere out there, the religion is just a word that serves a purpose. does not serve or does not justify, because we give the gods a different name, but it doesn't justify. Religion does not justify that this is the right path. But the very fact that there is just this word religion is just a moral code, and then we need to follow it. That's all. So stories are different for everyone, but more or less they are the same. More or less they serve the same morals. More or less they have found some sort of similarity one way or the other. It's just a polish on top. So I do really find it interesting that people don't look into it, but it's so similar that if we just start studying about different religions, and we'll think, oh my God, this is my religion. And 45% of it, I mean, if I go into history, it's going to be the same. And it's so amazing. We don't go into it, but definitely there's so much things out there. Just the stories, and just throw it out for a minute. Every other thing's got to be similar.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there was back in time there was the great like the great argument between religion and science, and I know that I know that the I know religion. I'm kind of speaking like early Christianity when they had a lot of followers and a lot of people, and yeah, they taught good things, good morals, but I think ultimately what was the downfall of religion was the ego. And I know that people that became in charge of these religious places, their ego would get the best of them, and then I think this is where people started to go down the more scientific way, because they're being, that you can't, thou shalt not do this, or it becomes very restrictive. So I think, yeah, religion has a good, obviously, yeah, the morals and ethics, what they preach, but when people come into power and when the ego gets involved, that's when things can go very south very very fast. And
And I believe that religion only can serve that purpose. The fact that you get so much power in one life is the fact that you've got followers through religion. It's the blind faith that can only contribute to such power. If you want to go back in history and just think about how powerful the Pope was, if you think about how even the whole Germany Nazi thing was driven on the basis of religion. The fact that we act and that we've got this will inside of us that makes us do much more of a faithful thing, um, that we can actually um, understand through our common sense, is the fact that we've got religion out there that makes us do it. And these people have become powerful just because they were religious leaders, just because they had some sort of power or a command over these people. That's how
yeah,
you go through it. Yeah.
yep, the yeah, people, yeah, it's interesting when you give power to people, how they change, how they react, those sort of things. I'm sure it's a common theme in history that people become corrupted by power. And kind of taking it back to your podcast, I'm interested to learn, like what's the journey been with your podcast? Like I'm curious to hear from day one. Where have you gone with it at this stage?
So yep. Originally, this was never a thing if we wouldn't have had lockdowns here. So I was just reading books, and I was just looking into history that intrigued me to a point where I thought this should be out there. I've always been a fan of knowing more about my past. It contributes to me. I really believe that studying history, more or less, it's been boring, of course, but then just knowing where I belong is more of a self-awareness that I can go and meditate. But actually I have to know, if I'm going to meditate and I'm going to call out a name, if it's Om, then how did I get this name that I'm going to meditate on?
Mhm.
So going back into history should be out there. And then I thought, well, there should be a podcast out there that really contributes to the fact of who I really am, slowly and gradually. So I started talking about history through this podcast, and it's been more of the things that I like. about history rather than just general history. So it's going to be difficult out there. But at first, I started out with Muslim history, so my own sect and how they came into being, the power, and then their decline. Then for the second episode, I'm in more into history of religions, how they all actually same speak of the same thing, and then they contribute to one common fact. So I'll put it out in episodes, and then initially I've got this first episode that talks about what is religion and if we do need it, and then every religion, every major religion that we have out there. You know, the most interesting fact that I found from all of this thing was that Jediism is so yeah, I have to clear this out because it's not so common out there. But you've seen Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
And Jediism is the force that has been observed by the good guys. So apparently, it's a religion out there, and it had 400,000 followers as of to 2006, I think. It still has followers in Australia. Somewhere around 40,000 people do believe in Jediism. So if you go to their house, they might have pictures of Luke Skywalker on the wall, and it's a true thing. So
Yeah.
there you go. You If you need stories from religion, then there you go. This is a good story, and you've got good sequels coming in every year. It's a growing religion. But so yeah, so I thought if we go back in history and then we reflect on who we really are, it's going to contribute to us. What I'll do is still I'll just put it out in a productive way and in a creative way that everybody listens to it. So this is what my podcast is all about, is that I'll put out history, things that we really just because if you go and ask someone, do you know much about Hinduism, if you're not a Hindu, and they'll go like, oh, I have to do so many things just to know about their past. And this is where I come in. I believe that if you look into stories, this is the intriguing thing. I'll give you stories, and then if you pick up the morals from there, it's more or less the same. So a reflection of the past, but in a more productive way, so that we all can actually link ourselves to it and then realize, oh, it's been out there, and I've never considered about the fact that we're so similar in one way.
Cool. My next question is not related to religion at all. It's more directly related to the podcast, and I'm just curious about your. Do you have any systems, or do you have any way of promoting your podcast, or is it just more organic and it depends on what you're studying at that moment, or is there any system that you're going by, or
No, no. For this whole marketing part, I've really been at back foot, and I really need to go study more about this. But what I've really done as of now is that I've literally, as of now, I've just started pushing in my Facebook group, and then I've realized I've got to do more marketing with all these stuff. But it's been organic as of now, because
yeah,
I've reached out to my niche, but I know it's not gonna provide much of a thing. I've studied a bit about this. I'm thinking about marketing, and then you have to push in some money, go through Overcast or some advertisements where you can really go out there. But as of now, I haven't really done much about growth. I'm more concerned with getting it out there, and once I've got a good chunk amount of content, then I'll start pushing it out, marketing it. And then when I know that I've got a smooth hand, a grip on putting out every episode, then I'll just focus more, because it's overwhelming, to be honest,
it
because
is.
you start a
It is
podcast,
an overwhelming
and then,
thing.
and then you have to be top of you really have to be on top of the content you are giving, because with religion and everything, you need justifications, you need proof. Then you have to edit, and editing, if I do an interview for 40 minutes and then I have to edit it into my podcast, 40 minutes literally takes me 4 hours to edit the same 40 minutes that I've done on the interview, somehow, somewhere. Then you have to do marketing, then you have to just do all the handling. It's too much doing just a podcast, just a podcast. It's not even a YouTube video.
Yeah. I feel the pain. I know, and sometimes, and you're not
Yeah.
even. Well, I'm not getting paid for this as well, and I'm not sure if you're getting money from it or not, or no. So it's all for the love. It's all for the passion. And if you don't mind, I've got your website coming up. So for those listening now, I've got Karim's website, History Encoded. I think it's a really smart and good idea to actually have a website which showcases all your work. History Encoded. Cool.
Yeah, because I'm
Um,
an IT student, I had to do this myself. And yeah, that's the good part where I just push in all these side stuff and then put it on my resume also because it contributes.
Perfect. You got the donate button. So that's so guys, you should donate to Karim. Give him some money.
Yeah, I really do need it, please.
um, I know that's awesome. Okay, so you're up to season two,
Yes.
and was it, correct me if I'm wrong, but is it about Muslims? You're this season,
First,
or
the first
what
season?
is? Oh, is that the first season? Is it?
Yep, that's more to Muslim history, but not Muslim. It's a very, very niche sect in Muslims that I belong to. And then I've just talked about their history. I've got
Okay.
more lined up, but I'll try not to be completely into religious or political history, but just history in general in time.
Yeah, my podcast is quite general. This is the first historic sort of style, religious sort of. I did have an interview with a Buddhist before, and I had an interview with a flat earther. So these are all really random interviews because the way I see it is maybe one day you're interested in cooking, and then maybe the next day you're not so interested in cooking, so you want to change the flavor. So that's my I'm a generalist, so you can change from philosophy to flat earth to tennis to so I'm kind of jumping around a lot. So I
That's
have
right. But the only problem that we face in this, because we don't have a proper audience that we can target every time. I mean, like what you're feeling today is not necessarily what the other person's gonna feel the same day where your episode goes out. And then
yeah,
if you're that's the issue I also face. So if we are more targeted towards an audience, so they know if they want something specific, they can fall back to us. We don't do that, and it's difficult for us to have a target audience, have a niche, go out and reach to them every time, bring their loyalty in, because we're so general out there. I know it's difficult, and it grows over time. It doesn't grow as fast as, if I would have an episode out Star Wars and I'll just be focused completely on that, it would have been much more easier.
yeah. The best bit of advice that I received actually, it was a guy I spoke to on the podcast, Nick Schildberger. Um, he said, I'm not sure if you're a vegan or carnivore, but he said that running a podcast is like cooking a steak. You should never leave it. You should just leave it on the grill. Don't touch it. And over time, yeah, it grows. Yeah, you have the organic reach. You maybe put marketing into it, and it needs to become a duty. It needs to be. You need to put work into it. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight. So that's
Well,
yeah,
nothing does,
nothing
honestly,
does.
nothing does. If you're out there in the business and you want some fruit back from it, you have to work on it. That's true. That's true. You have to put in some work, and the thing is that the more energy that you really put into it is the amount of energy you're going to get back from it. The only thing is that, it's difficult to go out there every time, give a quality content, and then just have it relatable is difficult.
Absolutely.
But the fact is that as long as you're enjoying it and you are growing from it, then I think it serves the purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, do you think we've missed? Do you think we have? Is there any other points that you want to make? Do you think we've covered most things? I know we've only scratched the surface, but on the Bhagavad Gita, but we've kind of gone off topic a little bit now, but that's all right. Is there anything else that you want to add to the podcast, or any final messages that you want to add?
No, but I'd like to conclude on the fact that if we all understand this as a responsibility, that being literate about religion is more important than just, following a group because you were born into it, is what makes us different. So I wouldn't just promote my work in here, but I'll just say that history really, really opens a back door for us to realize what we've been through, what generations of generations have traveled through. And if we it's a quote out there, and I wouldn't like to overquote it, but it's a fact that if you really don't look into history, then you're doomed to repeat it. So not just going into it politically, but the fact that we ignore so many things from history on a religious aspect, on a personal note of self-awareness, that we really must know a bit about ourselves, and that comes from the history that we have on this earth. And the fact that we have to be literate on a religious perspective. If you look into history, then you'll realize that the term religious literacy is out there. And the fact that we don't know much about it, and then we have only been into one background, and we just completely devote ourselves into it, would not mean a complete satisfaction, not for me. Because as long as I know what I've been through is the only answer I can give myself, that how I'm going to go furthermore with it. And that's what I would like to conclude on. Know more about yourself through your past.
Yeah, beautifully said, Karim. And I think I might end the podcast on that note. And guys, I've got the website down for www.historyencoded.com if you would like to learn more about that. And guys, please leave a voicemail. You can leave a voicemail on my show, and I can answer in the next episode. So that's anchor.fm/christian.lofts/message. It's in the description. But it's been wonderful talking with you, Karim. I've learned a little bit about history, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
no worries. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you next time. Thank you.